Literally everybody loves Lego, and since it's so popular, it's been referenced or straight up featured in a bunch of TV shows and movies. From multiple Family Guy bits where the whole joke is based on Lego, to an entire episode of The Simpsons where literally everything is made of Lego. Today, I'm showing you 20 times Lego appeared in other media, starting with the music video for Fell in Love with a Girl by the White Stripes from 2002. It was directed by Michel Gondry, and the whole thing is a stop-motion Lego animation. Every single frame was shot with real physical bricks, and in between each frame, the crew had to move the bricks ever so slightly to simulate movement. The song is only a minute and 50 seconds long, but the amount of work that went into making the video is genuinely insane. But here's where it gets good. The White Stripes actually wanted Lego to be officially involved. They reached out to the company hoping to get a small Lego set sent out with each copy of the song, something fans could use to build their own versions of Jack and Meg. Unfortunately, Lego turned them down, and their reason was that they didn't market their products to people over the age of 12. If only they knew how wrong they'd be like 20 years later. Regardless, the band just bought a bunch of Lego bricks and made the video anyway. It went on to win 3 MTV VMAs in 2002, including Best Visual Effects and Best Editing. And after it became a massive hit, Lego apparently came back to try and work with them, but Jack White turned them down. Now, speaking of Lego being somewhere nobody expected it, the 1989 Disney movie Honey, I Shrunk the Kids has one of the most memorable uses of a single Lego piece ever. The way it happened was that 4 kids accidentally got shrunk to 1/4 of an inch by a machine in the attic, and they ended up stranded in the backyard. At some point, they found a blue Lego brick lying in the grass, and at that size, a standard Lego brick is basically the size of a building. So they climbed inside it and used it as shelter for the night. It was on screen for a good amount of time, and it was completely unsponsored. But Lego showing up unsponsored is one thing. Having an art department spend 2 weeks building something for a single scene is a totally different ballgame. In the Christmas movie Elf, there's a scene where Buddy decorates a Gimbel's department store overnight, and as part of his decoration, he builds the entire New York City skyline out of Lego. According to director Jon Favreau, the art department spent over 2 weeks building it, just for it to be on screen for a few seconds. It's one of those details most people don't think twice about, but it was a huge deal for the people who had to build it. Now, most of the time when Lego shows up in media, it's either a cameo or a prop. But in 2024, an entire documentary was made using nothing but Lego animation. Piece by Piece is Pharrell Williams' autobiography documentary, directed by Morgan Neville, and his entire life story is told and animated in Lego. Every interview, every memory, every person, they're all minifigures. We've known for a while that Pharrell loves Lego, but this documentary absolutely sealed the deal. But now, let me tell you about something that was planned across 3 movies over the course of 5 years that involves the Lego Death Star. In Spider-Man Homecoming from 2017, there's a scene early in the movie where Ned is at school, showing Peter an Emperor Palpatine minifigure and asking if he wants to come over and build his brand new Death Star together. Peter has to turn him down because of his Stark internship, which is the first real sign that he's giving up fun for his superhero lifestyle. So Lego is literally used as the thing Peter sacrifices to be Spider-Man. Then later on, Ned is in Peter's room building the set without him. But when Peter crawls through the window in his Spider-Man suit, Ned drops it out of sheer shock, and it shatters all over the floor. The funny part about this, though, is that Tom Holland revealed in an interview that the crew went through 7 copies of the set, because Jacob Batalon kept dropping it too early during takes. However, in No Way Home, the Death Star comes back, but it's only half finished this time, and it's sitting on a shelf in Happy's condo, and it gets destroyed again. But the director, John Watts, did this on purpose. The Death Star gets fully built and destroyed in Homecoming, it's nowhere to be found in Far From Home, and it comes back half finished and gets destroyed again in No Way Home. This is exactly what happened in the 3 movies from the original Star Wars trilogy, making this one of the most discreet references in any Marvel movie. Clearly, this takes a lot of planning, but sometimes LEGO shows up in the MCU with a lot less thought behind it, and it's still funny. In Age of Ultron, the Avengers go to Hawkeye's family farmhouse, and when they walk into the living room, Thor steps on some Lego pieces that his kids left on the floor. He freezes, Captain America notices, and Thor very awkwardly sweeps the pieces under a chair with his foot to cover it up. And they just move on. Not a single word is said, and the whole thing plays out in about 10 seconds. But moving over to TV, let's talk about the most famous LEGO appearance on this entire list. In 2014, The Simpsons aired their 550th episode, and they used it to do something they've been working on for 2 years. The episode is called Brick Like Me, and the premise is that Homer wakes up in a LEGO version of Springfield, where everything and everyone is made of bricks. The story is actually about him having to choose between staying in a perfect LEGO world where Lisa never grows up, or going back to real life and accepting that she will. The whole episode took twice as long to make as a regular Simpsons episode, because every single character had to be rebuilt as a 3D model and animated. But here's what makes this really interesting. The idea actually started because LEGO went to Fox and pitched a collab so they could make a set based on the Simpsons house. But Fox came back and said, forget the set, let's do an entire episode. So they started writing it. What they didn't know though, because LEGO never told them, was that the LEGO movie was being made at the exact same time as this episode. The Simpsons team found out way too late to change anything, so they snuck in a little nod to the movie right at the end. But while The Simpsons did an entire episode, Family Guy has referenced LEGO in different ways in so many different episodes. The first one is from season 5 in an episode called The Tan Aquatic with Steve Zissou. The main plot is Peter turning into a bully after getting involved with Chris's bully. But one of the cutaways is an argument between Peter and Lois about how different LEGO is from Mega Bloks.
Lois only buys me Mega Bloks.
They're the same thing, Peter.
If you've liked LEGO long enough, you know this is a real argument that people have all the time. So it's not like Family Guy was making anything up. But in season 17, there's another cutaway that's just as real. In this episode, Stewie makes a new friend that actually starts turning him into a normal kid. He wants to give up all his weapons, and he even asks Brian if his friend can come over for a play date. Brian is super surprised by this, since Stewie's never done this before. And Stewie says there's a first time for everything, like when he built the Leaning Tower of Pisa out of LEGO. Now, even though Family Guys doesn't look like it, there is a real version of this set that came out in 2013. They probably just couldn't copy it one-to-one for copyright reasons. But the best Family Guy LEGO moment might be from season 15. Quagmire gets the guys free flights to San Francisco using his employee discount, and he invites them up to the cockpit. But while they're up there, they find out he's been using autopilot to take breaks. And Joe points out that he apparently had enough free time to build the 10,000-piece LEGO Hogwarts in the cockpit. There's even another bit where Peter calls Dumbledore Gandalf and Quagmire corrects him. But let's not ignore the fact that Quagmire would rather build Hogwarts than fly his plane. Anyways, another LEGO moment is in season 17, in an episode where Lois gets inspired by a book about decluttering, and she turns into an absolute clean freak. In one of the cutaways in this episode, she takes Chris and Meg's hats off because she thinks the hats are making more clutter, and underneath them, they both have LEGO heads with studs on top and everything. Now, Family Guy uses LEGO for cutaway jokes, but The Big Bang Theory treated it as a completely normal hobby for their main character. Across multiple episodes, Sheldon references building the Death Star as his LEGO fun time. And in season 6, Howard casually says that it took Sheldon 2 full years to build it. The set does have over 3,800 pieces, but 2 years for one LEGO set is an unreal amount of time. But on the show Friends, LEGO Lego was in the background multiple times and never even talked about by anyone. Bionicle spent multiple seasons sitting in Joey and Chandler's apartment and nobody said a word about it. Lego fans on Reddit got so into it that they made a catalog of all the appearances. One of the most popular ones was in Season 8, Episode 12, when the Wairuha combination model showed up. That's the figure you build by combining Kopaka with Lua and Gali, using instructions from all three sets. Bionicle launched in 2001, which lines up perfectly with the later seasons of Friends. But 30-year-olds building Bionicle is still pretty funny. But while Bionicle was just a background prop in Friends, someone on the writing team for The Flash used Lego in a very creative way. In Season 3, Episode 11, the team is trying to figure out how to stop Savitar from killing Iris in a future timeline they've already seen. So Caitlin and Cisco build a full Lego diorama, recreating the exact scene so the team can study it and work out how to save her. Using kids' toys to plan a rescue mission is a very interesting decision, but it works really well because apparently Lego is really good at recreating a crime scene. Now, most of these appearances involve Lego in some kind of meaningful way. But South Park did something more low-key. In Season 15, Episode 7, it's Stan's 10th birthday. Butters gives him a present, and it's set 7365, the four-wheel drive with horse trailer, a real Lego City set from 2009. Knowing South Park, I'm just glad they didn't do something way worse. But the most low-key Lego appearance on this list is probably in Ned's Declassified School Survival Guide. One of the three main characters, named Cookie, wears glasses in literally every episode, but they're not just any glasses. Cookie is pretty much a nerd, so he modified his glasses to be more high-tech and functional. And if you look closely at the frames, part of this mod is made with a piece from Bionicle. Production never said anything about it, so it took people on Reddit noticing it and bringing it into the limelight for anyone to say anything. This was timed pretty well for this show, since it started in 2004. But what happened in Futurama was the exact opposite. In the second episode, Fry and Leela's spacesuits have emblems on them, and they're pretty much identical to the classic space logo. The show is set in the year 3000, which means Lego's classic space aesthetic apparently survived for over 1,000 years. But a deeper Futurama Lego moment comes in the Season 6 premiere, Rebirth. The whole episode is about what happens after the crew gets killed crashing back through a wormhole. Leela doesn't die, but she falls into an irreversible coma, and Fry, who can't cope, builds a robot version of her just to feel better. Then halfway through the episode, it's revealed that Fry himself is also a robot. The real Fry died protecting Leela during the crash, and Leela built a robot version of him because she couldn't cope either. In the scenes with Robot Fry, if you look at his desk, there are tiny hand-built Lego figures of himself and Leela just sitting there. He might have done this so they could always be together, which is really sad. But Pixar went in the exact opposite direction. In Toy Story 3, when Woody and the gang first get to Sunnyside Daycare, if you look at the toys living there, you'll see minifigures mixed in with everyone else. Pixar animated them with rigid movement, exactly how minifigures would actually move. No bending and no flexibility. Then in the Toy Story short Hawaiian Vacation from 2011, minifigures show up again as background characters helping Barbie and Ken unpack their bags. The reason both of these happened is almost certainly because of Angus MacLane, because when he actually directed something himself at Pixar, he went all in. In 2013, he directed Toy Story of Terror, a Halloween special where Bonnie's toys end up trapped in a motel and slowly start disappearing. One of the toys is Lego Bunny, a rabbit made entirely out of Lego bricks who can rebuild himself into different shapes. MacLane built the original Lego Bunny himself from his own personal brick collection before it was ever scanned into the computer. And after the special came out, he submitted the design to Lego Ideas, trying to get it made into an official set. Unfortunately, he never got 10,000 votes, so Lego didn't even get to review it. But clearly, this guy is a massive Lego enthusiast, so it's awesome that he worked on such famous movies and gave us Lego fans something to be excited about. But which Lego appearance surprised you the most in this video? Be sure to let me know down in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe.